Hey, I'm Vinh, and this is Seattle Eats, a food podcast from the Seattle Times and KUOW. Tacoma is a vibrant bar town. Kitschy tikis and plenty of shot and beer joints. Incredible bar food, cheap cocktails, even when it's not happy hour. The watering hole is doing well. I'll be sharing 4 of my top 10 must-hit bars in Tacoma with the one and only Kristine Sherred, a food reporter at the Tacoma News Tribune. Ready? Let's bar hop. Hey, Seattle and Tacoma eaters! Kristine Sherred is in the house. Hey, Kristine.
Hi, Ton.
Well, I know it's dry January, but whatever. It's almost over. What do you say we talk about best bites and booze in Tacoma?
Awesome. Let's do it.
So, Kristine, I made a top 10 list of bars that people should hit in Tacoma, but I'm not going to talk your ear off. We have the authority on the Tacoma bar and drink scene right here. Can you give me an overview of your neck of the woods?
Sure. So, an overview. Okay. I would say first and foremost, there are probably more dive bars still alive and kicking in Tacoma than maybe there are in Seattle. I know there's still some, but Tacoma is definitely a good place for that. Generally speaking, nothing is too fancy. Even the fancy places have a casualness to them. And they're all very homegrown, very grassroots. The people who own these bars are often the people who are also working in these bars. So they're very personal.
Yeah. And that's why I love it. It feels more organic.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some dive bars that I still haven't been into in Tacoma, honestly, because they feel a little bit too much like a true record screech moment if I walked in there. But there's a lot of places that you can go in as somebody who's never been in there before, and they'll treat you like a regular. You can find pretty good cocktails in some unexpected places. There's some cool breweries that also, in some cases, do some really good food. Maybe the most unexpected reality of Tacoma that's happened just within, quite literally, the past 4 years is an influx of winery tasting rooms.
Oh, wow.
There's something magical that attracted them to Tacoma, or industry folks told them to, quote unquote, check out Tacoma. The real estate is maybe a little bit more approachable. There is room for things like that. And I would say overall, that's kind of the takeaway for Tacoma's bar scene and restaurants, that there's still room to kind of make something of yourself, so to speak, and there's still room to fill a niche. So It keeps it fun. But I guess as somebody who visits Tacoma but lives in Seattle, you seem to like Tacoma a lot. Tell me why.
I should tell listeners, I go to Tacoma, maybe not quite a bit, but enough where you notice, because I do call you up. It's like, hey, let's have a drink. Because I do have a list of bars I love, but I'm not the authority on the drink scene. You are. Can I bounce off a few?
Yeah, let's hear them.
I think there's 3 places I love I want to talk about, and when we have time, I'm going to throw out a 4th wild card. To start off, the one bar that I love, Proof. Proof is on North 30th Street in Old Town. And for Seattleites, you should Google it, because at night, at dark, it's hard to find. It's run by, I believe, one of the most important drink figures in Western Washington. His name is Chris Kyle. Proof is his latest venture. I like the coziness of it, because the problem with Seattle is, like, when you say the word craft cocktail, you think speakeasy-esque, you think pretentious, East Village kind of vibe. But this is really homey. I felt really comfortable. We drank here. What is your impression of Proof?
Proof is the best. I totally agree. I have had the pleasure of talking with Chris a number of times over the years. He has been a figure in the Tacoma bar scene for at least 15 years, if not going on 2 decades now. And the things that he's doing at Proof, I guess the most important thing is that it's actually an Anthem coffee, which is a Puyallup-based coffee chain. They kind of put up a black curtain to cover the coffee shop area. They have kind of a core menu of drinks. They're doing just really complex, nuanced stuff behind a bar that isn't even really a bar because, like I said, it's a coffee shop.
Break it down for me, because this is why I was very confused when I first went there, because I order a Sazerac. But the thing you have to know about Proof is this is not your dad's version of a Sazerac. His Sazerac is a reimagined as like a tropical drink almost. There's brown sugar infused Jamaican rum. There's Tonka infused Armagnac. And so, and all his drinks are pretty much like that. It's not like what you find in a cocktail book or in your typical bar. How does he break down his menu? Because it's not your typical bar.
Yeah, so they have it broken down into 3 sections, with spirit-driven drinks kind of being the first one. So
meaning it's very boozy.
Yeah, so that's like where your Sazerac would be. They make a Boulevardier that has chocolate milk-washed bourbon in it.
That's my favorite drink in the menu.
And usually Boulevardiers are like, why didn't I just get a Negroni? You know? And then they have another section that they call Let's Party that's like a session cocktail situation.
Oh.
So the martini, for instance, which can sometimes kind of knock you off your stool, here is actually like a very kind of subtle 50-50 split. So a vermouth and gin, but really fun. There's a gimlet in there that they use a coconut wash on the gin. And then there's also an even like lower ABV section that, you know, I guess you could have 5 of them instead of just 2.
I've been a big fan of his because I remember when he ran the bar program at Hilltop Kitchen. It was a agave and cane spirit program before rum and mezcal got big.
Yeah.
He also composed apothecary themed drinks at 1022 South, another bar I love, and he did cherry cocktails at M. Rama. Like 3 really distinctive bars. And this is what is even more impressive. The food is pretty good.
Yeah.
For a place that doesn't have a kitchen.
They have like it's a very modest kitchen. Like there might be like a prep table, some coolers. Like they are doing stuff as if it were a coffee shop. Yeah.
Right. And I remember I drank with you and I had the munchies. I ordered the house-made Hot Pockets. It was cheddar cheese and broccoli inside a pastry. Yeah, it was delicious.
Yeah.
What do you like there?
I love everything there. I love the Hot Pockets. They're so flaky. And then they also make a house focaccia bread that they bake in a loaf form and then slice it, which is so fun. And then also the salads. The salad there, it's like just, it's leaves, it's roughage, but it's just perfectly dressed and has a little bit of lemon, a little bit of crunchy element, and it's like a generous portion on a big plate, and it's perfect for sharing. And you could have a whole meal there or just a snack of a Hot Pocket, and it's going to be awesome. And it is first and foremost a cocktail bar, I would say, but the food is a perfect pairing to the cocktails, and the whole package is as cared for as can be.
Yeah, the food is 3 times better than it really should be for a place that doesn't have a kitchen.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, Kristine, let's go from Old Town, where Proof is, and hop to 6th Avenue District. It's, I think, my favorite bar hopping place in Tacoma. And the place I want to talk to you about, or the place that stands out for me in terms of food and drink, is a place called Field Bar and Bottle. It's run by Brian Herbert, who used to work at Artusi on Capitol Hill, another one of my favorite bars. I would say for Seattleites who have never been to this place, it's Tacoma's version of a natural wine bottle shop, except it's 5 times better. And let me explain why. Seattle is just littered with natural wine bottle shops. They call it wine bar, but it's pretty much just a glorified bottle shop. The kitchen is usually very limited, so you just get charcuterie plates, cheese plates, and if you're lucky, there's a panini press and you get a grilled cheese sandwich. So when I went to a Field Bar, I was like, oh, okay, why did I end up here? Because I peeked back in the bar, there's just a convection oven and 2 burners.
The kitchen is wildly modest for the incredible food that they put out there.
Yes.
I love it. I also had the pleasure of talking with Brian as he was opening Field, which evolved because of just the timing. It was 2020 and he ended up opening at first actually just as a bottle shop, which wasn't really the initial intention. And that kind of ended up working out in a really beautiful way because they were able to gain a foundation of fans through the bottle shop selection, which there might be a lot of those in Seattle, but like finding good wine for retail in Tacoma is quite difficult. And the best places to buy it are these independent shops. He also has a really nice selection of aperitifs and aperitivo stuff that you might drink on its own or using cocktails that you really can't find in many places. So, in addition to the wine, of course.
Yeah. I always buy some Pet Nat and some other wines because I would say, no exaggeration, I think the bottles are at least $5 cheaper than what you would pay for in Seattle. Yeah. And wine is good. Cocktails, also very good. Mm-hmm. But food, let's talk about food. Because I talked about how they really punch above their weight. What do you like there?
I always get the pickle plate, which is the small little plate of seasonal pickles. I've had cranberries on this little pickle plate, and a pickled cranberry, if you've never had one, is just an unexpected little gem of deliciousness. They do have a cheese plate. I guess, let's be fair, that as a wine bar, they do have a cheese plate.
And you have to.
But
it's a wine bar. It goes well with cheese.
Yeah. An absolute must order, though, if I can take this high seat, I guess, that I think is now a signature dish of Tacoma, is their rotating toast. And this is like not an ordinary toast. They have somebody on staff who focuses on bread making. So they make a different bread. And again, this changes with the seasons. I remember having one that was like a rugbrod, like an Icelandic rugbrod. They're not putting it under Icelandic stones like they do traditionally on that island. And then it usually has some sort of mousse pate situation that, again, changes. Sometimes it's been like a salmon mousse with little flourishes. That's one of my favorite things. I always get that when I go there. And then the menu itself is very snacky in one sense, and then they have a few larger plates. It's truly meant to be shared.
I don't share. I'm sorry.
That's not true. I've eaten with you and shared.
The T in TON does not stand for team player. I love the chicken liver mousse. And this chicken liver mousse over bread, they make everything, including their pate. Right. And when I was there, the chicken liver mousse. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over squash bread.
Yeah.
And that was
so good. And they're also using local farms, local produce.
I want to go to a field bar now.
Yeah.
Okay, change your plan. We're not going to hang out in Seattle. I'm driving down to Tacoma. I'm following you. But, for my third place, literally and figuratively, I want to talk about a dive bar, Parky's Pizza Bar. In your hood, actually, McKinley neighborhood. Is that supposed to be the next Brooklyn? Where did I hear this from?
The New York Times in like 2009.
Wow.
It was a long time ago. I've read this article. I've looked it up. I've reread it many times.
So is it the next Brooklyn, or what do you think?
Long pause. I guess the business district is actually incredibly small, but people who are familiar might recognize the name Top of Tacoma.
Yeah.
That's a bar that's been there since the mid-2000s. The owners of the Huckleberry Club are the original Top of Tacoma people. It's no longer with them. It's gone through a couple of owners. But that's in that neighborhood. There's another dive bar there. Dusty's Hideaway is there, which is a great kind of family-friendly pub that's in an old Craftsman house. And then there's Parky's Pizza. And it is a bar that's been there for almost 90 years, 89. And it, for a long time, was actually with the same family and kind of passed through generations until just a few years ago when a youngish couple, Dylan and Kim Ashley, bought this kind of what was described to me as a rundown dive bar. And they cleaned it up, but they kind of cleaned it up in a way that is just enough, right? And they did what they needed to do to make it approachable to, the every person. They brought in some pizza deck ovens, and they actually make really good bar pie, is how I usually describe it to people, and it is like wildly inexpensive.
Absurd.
You can leave Parky's after having a couple drinks and a couple pizzas for like $50. It's crazy. And they do a 5-day ferment on the dough, and it's cheesy and meaty or veggie filled, whatever you want it to be. They also make calzones.
I love their calzone.
Yeah, also great.
Yeah, I think the fermented dough works better in a calzone than it does a pizza. Because they call it a Neapolitan-inspired crust. Oh, but you're right. It's not really Neapolitan. It's like you said, quote, pie.
Yeah, it's
pizza.
like a bar pie. Yeah.
And it's delicious. It's only $9 to $14, as I recall.
Yeah.
So it's not like I look at the price so much, but when I'm used to Seattle prices. So I'm at a dive bar and I see a pie that's as cheap as $9. I'm thinking it's a frozen pizza.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
You have not been bar hopping in Seattle, but bars in Seattle, they will sometimes have frozen pizza.
Right.
That's what they serve.
Due to the state laws, the lore I've been told.
Yes. You have to serve food at bars. So what a lot of bartenders and bar owners have realized is to get a way around that, they have a frozen pizza. They'll have just one frozen pizza because all you need is one, apparently.
And it makes sense, but not at Parky's.
But not at Parky's. The pizza are freaking fantastic. I freaking love the pizza. And I give you credit. You turn me on to this.
I tell everybody about Parky's, and I still think that it's the most underrated place in town. The word kind of hasn't gotten out yet about it in Tacoma.
Really?
There are some people who know, but they're kicking, and they've also kind of managed to retain some of their old school customers, I think, while starting to attract some new ones. It also feels like a neighborhood bar. You could go there and watch a game. They also serve food late, which is basically an impossibility in Tacoma. So I'm there often if I need to eat basically after 8 p.m. And then they have a couple of pool tables, a big outdoor area, and it's open every day.
Well, when I think of Parky's, I think it's a dive bar and a great dive bar. I mean, I should ask you though, what is your definition of a dive bar?
I don't want to get any haters here because I feel like some people might say you've never been in a real dive, because a real dive is maybe a place that you wouldn't go. I don't know. But I feel like,
I don't want to go to a place that's stabby. I want to live.
Right, exactly. For sure. I think it's a place where anyone, not to be super cheesy, but where anyone can feel at home. And Parky's to me is a great example of that because it feels like it's been there forever. It kind of has. I think the age of them does play into the definition of dive. You want things to kind of feel really lived in. You want there to be some tears in the leather on the stools or whatever.
Duct tape.
Yeah, that you can kind of see the years of life that has been lived in them.
I think the best definition of a dive I ever heard was actually from my producer's show, Brandy Fullwood. Her definition of dive is, if you stay long enough, you might stick to the floor. That is as good a definition that I can give listeners.
And I think the colliding of people also plays into what makes a dive. It's not just the place, it's the people.
Yeah. And when I think of Tacoma, I think it's a great place for dive. But for outsiders and for cocktail geeks, when they think of Tacoma, they think of the tiki scene.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think Tacoma, this is not even a slight exaggeration, has the best tiki scene in the Northwest, including all of Portland and Idaho and what have you. It's pretty awesome. I think when I think of Tacoma, I think of Devil's Reef. I think of the old hangout.
Mm-hmm. In the basement of McMenamin's.
Thank you. And the thing is, for outsiders, when they think of the tiki scene in Tacoma, outsiders was mentioned Devil's Reef, and that's one of my favorite bars. But I was surprised. But locals, they will not mention that place. They will mention the Tiki Hut.
The Tiki Hut.
So please tell me about the Tiki Hut. It's on 6th Avenue.
Yeah, it's on 6th Ave, a little bit past kind of the main stretch of businesses. And it is in a very funny building. Well, it's an old Taco Time, actually.
Oh, wow.
It's a counter-serve place, kind of plate lunch vibe. You can also just go in there and get, hearty takeout. But amid the pandemic, when they had some downtime, they always had this back room that you could go and you could sit down at, but it was very plain. And they kind of quietly remodeled the whole thing and turned it into a tiki haven. The drinks are also really affordable, I think, for what you get from the tiki cocktail and how much goes into making them.
We have the highest liquor tax in the country. So when it comes to tiki, which are boozy drinks, which means it usually costs more, And plus, the tiki ware is really expensive and people steal them. So that's why tiki drinks are so expensive. But if you go to Tacoma, again, I hate to keep harping on this.
Yeah.
But if you go to Tacoma, even the tiki drinks are cheap.
One interesting thing about Tacoma, and as we're having this conversation, it sort of made me think of this point that a lot of the businesses are sort of up against a ceiling, I think, that they feel like they can't surpass in terms of pricing. And if you are coming from Seattle, it might feel kind of affordable. But by the same token, there are some people in Tacoma who think that everything's too expensive.
What?
But, you can't win them all. There is an affordability to things in Tacoma that has a lot to do with the cost of doing business and the creativity of the people. And at the Tiki Hut, I think like one way they maybe keep down on costs perhaps is the cocktails are still served in glassware. Mostly just clear glassware, though. I think they have some tiki mugs, but some of it's, just a tall kind of Pilsner glass sort of thing. But the food, which is surprisingly good as well, and a really good value, Hawaiian plate lunch type stuff, kind of combo plates, musubis, etc., still comes on paper plates. People definitely get creative in Tacoma, I think, to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. When I think of the Tiki Hut, it might be the only tiki place, and this is not a backhanded compliment, but it's the only tiki place where I hear people talk more about the food than the drinks.
Oh.
Because the food is outstanding. That lunch plate is a great deal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you get like 3 different meats with rice and mac salad. If you're going to eat, you want to be in the dining area. Mm-hmm. But if you're here for the tiki experience, you want a seat at the bar. Because when you go to the bar at the Tiki Hut, you also get a special menu that's not offered in the dining area. And this is where you have those special kitschy tiki mug and everything. They won't say it, but usually the reason why you do this is like
they can see you.
Yes, the bartender keep their eyes on you so you don't get, sticky fingers like, oh, this tiki mug is kind of cute, and it goes missing.
Yeah.
But I go there to eat. I love that place. Yeah, great food. The lunch plate. You can't beat it.
You can't. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in Tacoma do. I think you're right about that a lot of people go there to eat, not necessarily to drink. And maybe they have a drink, but definitely you see people in there just eating.
I love that you love the 4 places that I picked.
Yeah. Great list.
Kristine, thank you so much for joining us, for driving all the way on I-5 North on this busy day to join me.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a true pleasure.
That's it for today. We have a list of all the bars we talked about in the description of this episode. Thanks for listening to Seattle Eats. The show is a production of the Seattle Times and KUOW, part of the NPR network. You can support Seattle Eats by investing in the local newsrooms and the specialized beats that make this sort of storytelling possible. Please consider joining and subscribing at KUOW.org/eats and SeattleTimes.com. Seattle Eats is produced by Brandy Fullwood and edited by Jim Gates and Trevor Lensmeyer. I'm Tom Vinh. See you next week.